It's not the first time the likes of the IMF, and as a matter of fact, the World Bank too has also called the attention of Nigeria, the Nigerian fiscal authorities, to implement broad structural reforms, and of course, and also fiscal. And now the concerns have been raised about debt, and it's also not the first time we're hearing the IMF expressing concerns about Nigeria's debt profile and for the sub-Saharan African countries. But what are your thoughts in terms of how we are progressing and how we're measuring our progress?
The high debt profile of Nigeria and other African countries is not the major challenge, because if we look at the global trend and the global average, most developed countries of the world, United States, European nations, they have very high debt to GDP ratio. Some of them, US is running at over 90%. Some others are running at 70%, 80%. It is our capacity to turn around whatever debt we incur from other parts of the world and let that debt speak to our economy in terms of turning around the economy, improving on our average annual growth rates and performances, then translating growth to development. His comments, his observations, and his advice to African economies, we can say it's taken in good faith, but the story does not stop there. As of today, Nigeria as a country, we still have debt to GDP ratio of below 30%. Yes, we have about 30% of our annual budget devoted to debt service. But my own concern will be the disconnect between what we borrow and what we apply the borrowing to. How that borrowing is influencing lives and standard of living of our people. Ditto some other economies of Africa. So I think the story and the issues, they go beyond what we can call as the numerals.
Do you think that that's also what the IMF is pointing out when they keep stressing the need for Nigeria to embark on broad structural reforms? From past governments, even this current government, that's what we hear, that we're also undertaking, structural reforms. But many of our structural defects would not be solved overnight. We're still dealing with issues of power. The power sector is still in dire need of massive investments. Of course, transportation. So infrastructure, especially infrastructure, road, transportation, water, sea. So it's all obviously things that cannot be done overnight. But obviously, we need to start somewhere. So would you say that that's that's what IMF is perhaps saying indirectly?
In a way. But then structural reform, there must be a goal. The end must justify the means. When we talk of structural reform, a major issue in structural reform is for us to be able to diversify our economy, move away from a monolithic type of economy to an economy that will rely on several sources of revenue, especially foreign earnings. But the problem is we have a lot of obstacles imposed or placed on us by the rest of the world. Let's start at Nigeria as an example now. Let's start even from Africa. A few days back, our businessmen in Ghana there, complained bitterly about the hostility of the authorities to Nigerian businessmen in Ghana. Now, if we ask ourselves, however vibrant we may be as an economy, whatever level of diversification we may attain in an attempt to reform our economy, if the rest of the world is hostile to our products, to our people, where do we go from there? As of today, if we look at most developed economies of the world, Nigerian products cannot just enter these economies because there are so many anti-trade policies in place in the US, in Europe, in the rest of the world. How then do we diversify if we cannot produce and earn foreign exchange from our other products other than oil?
Okay.
So that is a major challenge that we are confronted with in our strive to diversify. When we diversify, it's like today, the main issue borders on we producing what we consume and consuming what we produce. But reforming an economy, diversifying an economy goes beyond that. We should be able to diversify our economy to the level where we'll be able to earn substantial foreign exchange.
Okay. Now, for the IMF, at this September meeting, one of the issues also raised, like, as you mentioned, is diversification. And, of course, they also brought up the issue of the economic recovery and growth plan, which is anchored, this growth is supposed to be anchored on. What are your thoughts in terms of the progress we've made so far with the ERGP document?
We are making progress, but we need to do more. As of today, we can see the interest that we've developed in the various sectors of the economy. Agriculture as an outstanding example. Small to medium enterprises, economies, including the micro businesses. There are so many policies in place today encouraging these other sectors of our economy. We have so many incentives coming from the government quarters to encourage these sectors. And we have improved will to do the right thing. Then we are addressing the issue of infrastructural deficits across the nation. So we can say from all this, we are doing pretty well.
Okay.
But we need to address some fiscal dislocations. We still need to move faster in the area of infrastructural development. Then we need to tame our propensity to consume imported items so as to encourage local production for local consumption. So these are key areas we need to develop.